Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhana Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Yamuna Mai Ki Ganga Mai Ki Tulsi Devi Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 18, verse 21. Athapi yat pada nakava srishtam jagad virincho partarhanambha shesham punatyan yatamo mukundat o namaloke bhagavat padartha. Athapi yat pada nakava srishtam Jagat Virincho Paritarhanamha Shesham Punatyan Yatamo Mukundat Ko Namaloke Bhagavat Padartha Athapi Yat Pada Nakava Srishtam Jagat Virincho Paritarhanamha Shesham Punatyan Yatamo Mukundat Ko namaloke bhagavat padartha.
Athapi yat padanakhavrasishtham jagat virinchi kopahatar hanambha sesham punatyanyatamo mukundat ko namaloke bhagavat padartha.
Hare Krishna. Athapi yat pad nakavachistam jagad virincho pahitarhanam shesham punatya anyatamo mukandat ko namaloke bhagavate padartha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Atapi yat padanakhavrasratam jagat vrinicho pritarthan mabha Shesham punatya anayatmano mukunda o namaloke bhagavat padartha. Hare Krishna.
All right, we'll move on. Synonyms: ata, therefore; api, certainly; yat, whose; padanaka, nails of the feet; avasrishtam, emanating; jagat, the whole universe; virincha, Brahmaji; upahrita, collected; arhana, worship; ambha, water; sa, along with; isham, Lord Shiva; punati, purifies; anyatama, Who else? Mukundat, besides the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Ka, pu, nama, name, loke, within the world, Bhagavat, Supreme Lord, pada, position, artha, worth. Translation: who can be worthy of the name of the Supreme Lord but the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna? Brahmaji collected the water emanating from the nails of his feet in order to award it to Lord Shiva as a worshipful welcome. This very water, the Ganges, is purifying the whole universe, including Lord Shiva. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. The conception of many gods in the Vedic literatures by the ignorant is completely wrong. The Lord is one without a second, but he expands himself in many ways, and this is confirmed in the Vedas. Such expansions of the Lord are limitless, but some of them are the living entities. The living entities are not as powerful as the Lord's plenary expansions, and therefore there are two different types of expansions. Lord Brahma is generally one of the living entities, and Lord Shiva is the medium between the Lord and the living entities. In other words, even demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, who are the chief amongst all demigods, are never equal to or greater than Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, and all-powerful demigods like Brahma and Shiva are engaged in the worship of Vishnu, or Lord Krishna. Therefore, who can be more powerful than Mukunda, Lord Krishna, to be factually called the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Ji, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva are not independently powerful. They are powerful as expansions of the Supreme Lord, and all of them are engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, and so also are the living entities. There are 4 sects of worshipful devotees of the Lord, and the chief amongst them are the Brahma Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, and Sri Sampradaya, descending directly from Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the goddess of fortune Lakshmi, respectively. Besides the above-mentioned 3 Sampradayas, there is the Kumara Sampradaya, descending from Sanat Kumara. All of the 4 original Sampradayas are still scrupulously engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord up to date, and they all declare that Lord Krishna, Mukunda, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and no other personality is equal to him or greater than him. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanshakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Good morning, dear devotees. I'll read the translation one more time. Who can be worthy of the name of the Supreme Lord but the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna? Brahmaji collected the water emanating from the nails of his feet in order to award it to Lord Shiva as a worshipful welcome. This very water, the Ganges, is purifying the whole universe, including Lord Shiva. So I'm happy to be with all of you this morning. Thank you for having me here. And again, if you can, please turn on your cameras. Please excuse me last time when I was here if I was too strong in making that. I called you all greedy if you weren't giving us darshan. I understand you all are likely busy with driving to work or preparing for your day or something, so no problem. But I am very happy to be here with all of you. And this verse is wonderful. I'm always grateful for an opportunity to speak on the simple topic of Krishna's glories. Sutta Goswami here is giving a kind of an easy pitch for a class. And so to hit this one there's so much you could say. So what I wanted to share is a little dip into the ocean of Krishna Katha. Lord Chaitanya says that this process of Sankirtan, hearing and chanting about Krishna, is Anandam Buddhivardhanam. It's an ever-increasing ocean of nectar. And Pratipadam Purnamrta Swadanam. At every step, we taste that nectar. So this is just a dip into that ocean. And I wanted to speak on three things. D is the definition of God. I is the identity of God. And P is the power of God. That's our dip into the ocean of Krishna Katha. So what's the definition of God? This is how the verse explains that Krishna is, or God is Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the definition of God. You don't get this in other traditions as far as I've seen. People will speak of God and they'll say he's the Father, he's the Supreme, he's all powerful. But this is a complete definition of who is God. So Bhagavan means that God is the person who has all strength, all fame, all wealth, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation, fully. There are people in this world who have some of those qualities to some degree, but nobody has all of them completely like Krishna does. For example, Jeff Bezos, CEO of Amazon, he's quite wealthy, but at any second, that wealth could be taken away. And what is his wealth really? It's numbers on a screen. Even these days, there's not a factual value sitting behind those numbers. There's not gold backing that up as it was in the past. So this wealth, one of the most wealthy people on this planet, only has a small amount in the perspective of this universe, and it can be taken away at any time. And we look at people like this in the world with some awe. Wow, so much wealth. What can he do with all of that wealth? But comparatively, it's nothing. He is only on one planet, in one solar system, in one universe of unlimited universes, which are all existing only for the quick outcoming and ingoing breath of Mahavishnu. So what is that wealth really? So God is the one who has these 6 features entirely. He's not simply someone who is sitting up in the clouds and sending people to heaven or to hell. This is kind of the Judeo-Christian understanding of God. He's the supreme judge. It's the description of Yamaraj, basically. So Yamaraj is the one who is assessing people's activity after their lifetime and then making the judgment of where they will go. But God has so much more interesting things to do than simply condemning people or elevating people. That's a very boring job to do for eternity. If you're the all-powerful Supreme Lord, why would you do that? So God is so amazing that one of his agents does that. Just like a powerful, wealthy business owner, Jeff Bezos, he has so many agents who work for him. In fact, my brother was working for him and he really didn't like it. It was a terrible job because the bottom line of the company is money. And so they try to basically exploit you as much as possible and give you as little as possible. So unlike Jeff Bezos, Krishna God is able to perfectly organize his management of creation and satisfy everyone. So one of his agents, Yamaraj, is doing that service as the judge. But God himself has so many more interesting things to do. And people don't consider this. Like in Christianity, people talk about Jesus, and then Jesus talks about the Father. But then who is that Father, and what does that Father do? So here in the definition of Bhagavan, we get a more detailed description of what that person is. The person with all of these 6 opulences completely. But still, that's kind of limited. It helps us understand. But isn't there more detail we can get? So Bhagavan is the definition of God. Now, what about the identity of God? Because if you claim to love someone, you should know who they are, right? So, for example, someone goes to a party and they meet someone else and they say, the other person asks them, did you come here with someone or are you here alone? Yeah, I'm here with my wife. And then the other person asks, oh, which one is she? Is she the one over there wearing red? Is she the one over there? And the person says, I don't know. But I love her. So how can we really say we love a person if we don't know who they are? Even if we have this Bhagavan definition, which is more complete than we generally get in modern day Judeo-Christian understanding, still it's vague. Okay, God's all-powerful. That's nice. But who is that all-powerful person? So then it comes to the identity of God. And Sutta Goswami here says, nobody else but Krishna can be called God. He says that Lord Brahma collected water from the Ganges to offer as a welcome to Lord Shiva. And that water is emanating from the toenail of Lord Krishna and purifies the entire universe. There's another wonderful verse from Rupa Goswami where he's talking about the holy name. This is from the Namashtaka, the first verse, which is similar. Nikila Shuti Mali Ratnamala Dyuti Nirajita Pada Pankajanta. He says that the topmost, the crown jewel of all the Vedas are known as the Upanishads. And the light emanating from these Upanishads is constantly worshiping the tips of the toes of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Pada Pankajanta, the tips of the toes of Krishna's lotus feet. So, well, he's talking about the holy name there, but the holy name is not different from Krishna. So if the tips of the toes of the lotus feet of a person are so wonderful that the topmost of all knowledge personified, the Upanishads, is worshiping them, what to speak of the feet of that person, what to speak of the face of that person, what to speak of the heart of that person. And in the same way, if Lord Shiva receives this Ganga water as a welcome from Lord Brahma, from the creator of the universe to Lord Shiva, the destroyer of the universe, then which is coming from the tips of the toenails of the lotus feet of the Lord, and how wonderful is that person? If just this water coming from their lotus feet is so wonderful, then what to speak of the rest of that person? And similarly, we hear prayers. Uddhava prays, let me just become a blade of grass in the outskirts of Vrindavan, so that maybe the gopis, Krishna's devotees, will come step on me. So not only Krishna's lotus feet, but the lotus feet of his devotees are so wonderful as well. So now that Krishna, nobody else can be called Bhagavan but Krishna, Sutta Goswami is saying. Who else is worthy of that name of Bhagavan but Lord Krishna? And there's so many references describing this. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. Krishna is the one, eko, maintaining bahu, the many. He is the one eternal who's maintaining the many other eternals, all of us. And so there's one. This is Krishna. He's Nityo, eko. He's one, the one eternal who's maintaining all the others. Earlier we hear in the Bhagavatam as well, Ete chamsa kalapungsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So very clearly we get here, Krishna is that Bhagavan. He is that person who has all the opulences, and all the other incarnations of Lord Krishna are just kala, ite, changsha. So they're angsha or kala. They're expansions, they're portions or portions of the plenary portions of Krishna. But Krishna is the supreme. He is the source of all of them. Krishna also says himself a number of times in Bhagavad Gita about his position. He says, Matas parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya, that there's no true superior to him. And everything is resting on him like pearls strung on a thread. So there's no true superior to Krishna. And he says that even the Brahma Jyoti, which is sought after by so many transcendentalists, seeking to get Brahmananda, they want this supreme bliss of merging into this oneness of consciousness, this light emanating from Krishna. He says, Brahmano hi pratishtaham, I'm the source of that Brahman. That's just emanating from Krishna. And he says, Aham sarvasya prabhu sarvam pratyate. Everything material, everything spiritual is coming from Krishna. And those who are intelligent will worship him, recognizing this. So these are the references that help us understand Krishna's position. He is that one, Bhagavan, and nobody else is worthy of that name except him. And then there's his power. So I was describing from the first canto earlier on, Ete Chamsa Kalapungsa. Krishna has so many expansions and expansions of expansions. So it's amazing to really consider our position in relation to Krishna when you look through these different expansions. We'll hear again and again in Srimad Bhagavatam of the creation of the universe. And I'm starting to understand more why that is there, because it can seem dry. It's very analytical, it's very technical. You get so many details. But if you can see the perspective of our position compared to Krishna's, because we're in this material world, and we might look around and think, yeah, I'm an important person. I've got a lot going on for me. I've got so much influence. People listen to me, whatever it might be. And so we have this diluted conception of our position. We might think that I'm a really big deal. But when you see from the perspective of just the creation of one universe, you can recognize how tiny we are and how unlimitedly powerful is Krishna. So we are in one little city called Philadelphia, and one country, United States, and one planet, which is part of, according to the Vedic conception, is one of 14 planetary systems. All of these planetary systems are situated on the lotus flower coming from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, on top of which is Lord Brahma. So what this is doing is like when you go into a mall or you go for a hike, there's a map and it says, you are here, right? So Bhagavatam helps us see that you are here. So we're in that tiny place in one planetary system, in this lotus flower coming from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. And Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, imagine how enormous he is. He is laying down in the Garbhodak ocean within one universe. And from the perspective of him, one planetary system is so tiny, what to speak of one little planet. And now, this is just one universe, which is compared to a mustard seed. I'm sure all of you have seen mustard seeds. They're so tiny. And each universe is like one mustard seed in a big bag of mustard seeds. Or what helps me see the analogy more clearly, because we didn't use mustard seeds growing up. We used salt and pepper and maybe some Italian herbs. But I went to the beach a lot because I was born in Santa Cruz, California. So when I think of the universes, I think of grains of sand on the beach. Because you can walk along the beach for miles and miles and miles, and it still keeps going. And you look down and you see so many grains of sand, and we're just like one grain of sand on the entire coast. And so now, going even further, Mahavishnu, each universe, which is so tiny, is coming from each of his pores. And from our perspective, it's trillions of years that pass by in the creation and destruction of the universe, one day of the Lord Brahma. But from his perspective, it's just breathing in and out. And Mahavishnu, he's an expansion of the Chaturvyuha, of these four expansions of Lord Krishna, which are an expansion of another expansion coming from Lord Balaram, who is the first expansion of Lord Krishna. So it's extraordinary. I used to really think this was dry. And why is there all this information? Why is it important to me? But it's dawning on me that Krishna is so unbelievably amazing. And meanwhile, all that is happening by Lord Balaram's arrangement. And he's taking care of all of the criminals. All of the living entities in this world have turned away from Krishna, and essentially we're criminals in this world. And this world is like a prison meant to reform us. So Lord Balaram is so kind that he takes care of all of the lost, deluded living entities in this world and helps guide them back to Lord Krishna. And meanwhile, what's Krishna doing? He's just having a good time. He has nothing to do. This is, we hear this description, the first line of that verse. It says that Krishna has nothing to do. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. He has nothing to do. He is always eternally in the spiritual world with his loving devotees. He's in Goloka Vrindavan and enjoying his pastimes with his friends, with his family. He is taking care of the cows. It's unbelievable to consider that this is God. So he's so powerful. He's so unlimited that he can send unlimited, infinite expansions, and he himself doesn't become any less. I got a notification my internet is unstable. Can you all hear me okay?
We can hear you well now. It did go off for just a half a minute, but
Okay.
it's back to white
Okay.
bars again, so you're okay.
Okay.
If that should happen again, turning off your video sometimes helps.
Okay.
But for now, I think we're good.
All right. Great. So Krishna is so unlimited, he can send unlimited, infinite expansions of himself and not be reduced in the slightest. From the material conception, if you give something, if you take something from yourself, you become less. If I have $1 million, I give you 100,000, I'm less. But Krishna is able to give unlimitedly and not be reduced in any way. And in fact, he's always increasing. So I'll share one more thing, and then I'd love to hear all of your reflections. So now we've defined God, Bhagavan. We've gone into the identity of God as Krishna and how he is the one, Bhagavan. And we've talked about how he's so powerful that he's able to send unlimited expansions of himself and create unlimited universes to facilitate conditioned souls coming back to him. So now, how amazing is Lord Chaitanya? So this is all describing Lord Krishna. Lord Chaitanya is Lord Krishna, but he's even more merciful. So how he's unlimited in his mercy, because as he gives Krishna prema to others, as he opens the storehouse of love of Krishna and gives it out, that storehouse increases. So the Panchatattva, they plundered the storehouse of Krishna prema. They opened it up, which was previously stored and locked away and hidden, and they opened it up and gave it to anyone and everyone. Didn't matter what their qualification was. I should speak in the present tense because this is still happening. It doesn't matter what our qualification is. This Krishna prema is available by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. The highest goal imaginable, prema pumarto maham, is available for all of us, no matter what our qualification, no matter what we've done. So this is the amazing, unlimited mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And it's so easy to do. All you have to do is chant the holy names of Krishna. Prabhupada made it so accessible. You chant 16 rounds with the Hare Krishna mantra, you follow the 4 regulative principles, and you get the topmost goal. So not only is Krishna unlimitedly powerful, but he's also unlimitedly merciful, unlimitedly kind to give this to us. And we are unlimitedly fortunate in this time to have this process available. And if we can share it, this is my recent understanding, which is beginning to transform my devotional life. And It's so essential. I don't know how I missed it. It's called, our process is Shravanam and Kirtanam. We hear and then we chant. So that means Lord Chaitanya is so kind. He gives us this topmost gift. We have to give it. We have to be kind, like Lord Chaitanya. And that's really how we'll get the highest benefit. Krishna says in the Gita that nobody is more dear to him than the one who spreads Krishna consciousness, than the one who teaches the Bhagavad Gita to the devotees. So for a circuit to function, for electricity to flow, you have to be plugged in. So if you're not sharing the flow, you're cutting off the flow of mercy, and then you don't get the same mercy. It's still absolute, chanting Hare Krishna, coming here to these Bhagavatam classes. But if we don't share the wealth that we have, then we won't get the same result. So these are my thoughts here. You all are exalted Vaishnavas, and I would love to hear, what is it that holds you back from sharing Krishna consciousness with others? Theoretically, it's so easy to do. You just repeat what you hear. But what is it that prevents you from sharing the wealth? Please kindly share some thoughts. Or if you don't have thoughts on that specific question, you can share thoughts on other topics from this class.
Please, anybody, you can either raise your hand or you can unmute yourself and go ahead. In the meantime, go ahead, Mother.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I just had a thought, like, as Krishna says, don't teach anybody if they're against me, if they don't have interest about me. They, Krishna himself says this. And it's very hard at times when you try to speak up about Krishna to those people who don't believe in him. They talk nonsense. They talk against him. And you, being a devotee, you don't want to listen that. And it's very hard to actually, you try to avoid argument with them, but, it's because they speak nonsense, because that's in, especially where we live right now. Like yesterday only I was in a party, and then most of them were non-devotional people, and I cannot avoid them because they are from my family, friends, circle. And I was thinking about Krishna. He was with me all the time, but I was just feeling, what am I doing here? And I cannot even avoid being in that group. And I know I cannot even say anything about Krishna because they will feel I'm stupid, And so what are we supposed to do in this kind of situation?
Yeah, that's such an important point. It reminds me of Prahlad Maharaj. We might want to speak about Krishna to anyone and everyone, but unless we're at the level of Prahlad Maharaj, that we're actually willing to be tortured and have attempts to kill us, then we might want to be cautious about who we speak to. Because Prahlad could just say to the most powerful demon in the whole universe, yeah, you should give up your sinful ways and surrender to Krishna. But if we're not at the level of Prahlad, then yes, Mother Ritu, I think that's a great question. Mother Shobharade, were you going to respond to her question?
We were also in somewhat of a similar situation. One of the things that happens is as this association increases, that association decreases. So we used to have a circle of friends, and we don't get invited as much to those gatherings anymore because our preference is to go to these gatherings. Everything is happening. Saturday night is the party night, right? So the devotional parties are happening on Saturday nights, and those parties are happening on Saturday nights. So we have to make a choice. As we were making more of these choices, those choices were becoming less available. But definitely there are still certain associations that we cannot avoid. There's families who have different beliefs and they're strongly holding on to their beliefs. We do our best. But your question about what is holding me back, I think it is still that, for me personally, is I think that fear of rejection is something I should not feel it that way. I know I shouldn't, and my Guru Maharaj is always telling us, hit the pavement, do your part, give the name, and when the fruit is ripe, they will accept it. Those fruits that are not ripe will not accept it. And so that's what I should do. That is a barrier that I'm still not able to cross. Maybe courage, maybe personality, I don't know what it is. But I also feel that each one of us has a part that we can do towards that end. So for a preaching program to be successful, there are so many different things that need to be done. So when the preaching party goes out, say if it's near this area, they all go out, I have prasadam ready for them when they come back. And like Mother Sangeeta was saying, that book distribution is that was Prabhupada's instruction to us. That's our Guru Maharaj's instruction to us as his disciples, distribute books. For that to happen, there is a process, a program, and different parts. I try to fill a part that I don't want to say I'm good at, but that I can do, that needs to get done. So in that way, hopefully one day I will be able to follow my Guru's instruction and do what I've been asked to do. Until then, there is still something I can do. I don't have to say, hey, I cannot go talk, so I won't do anything. So that's how I'm rationalizing my inability to do what I have been asked to do. I do truly feel that there is a big picture and we are all small puzzle pieces in there. One without the other will not work. Like I always remember this a while back when we tried to put the playground in the back. We were trying to raise money for it. There were people who gave a lot of money. It was actually 2 or 3 people who gave large amounts of money. They didn't even have children coming to play on the playground. They had to give the money, and there were families who had children who didn't have the money but were willing to put in the work. So they, got the border built around it, put the mulch, things like that. So I always remember that one without the other would not have worked. Just the money would not have put the playground in. Just the playground would not have gotten there without the money. So there are things that we can do, we should do. We should not give up and do our part. That's my thought on this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just personally feel sometimes, I don't think that I reach to that level where I can convince people. I think I'm in the beginning stage and I try to avoid any kind of, argument or giving them knowledge, because I'm like, it's better to keep, shut down than argue or, make them understand about this right now. They will understand. And they all have temples in their home. The funny thing is that they all have temples, but they don't agree that it's all reality. That's the sad thing. So one time, I just very quickly, last Ekadashi, I think I invited somebody, for dinner, and, I was fasting, but I was happy to serve them prasadam. It was at night, and around 9 o'clock, I was serving them prasad. And then after the dinner, obviously they were asking me, "You're not eating?" I've said, "Obviously, I'm fasting, and I'm not going to take it until tomorrow morning." And then at the end, the guy, he said, "How can you do the fast? How can you torture yourself? All that kind of stuff. How can you, I cannot stay happy." He is even Pandit, from Pandit background, and he was talking like that. My wife, she does fasting, but she's always, in a bad mood during the day, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, don't provoke me for this. I don't want to argue with you today. It's Prasad and it's Ekadashi. And at the point, and obviously my husband was not supporting me because he doesn't support me for all this thing. So it's very hard for me. And then at the end, I was like, bum. I was like, what's bothering you? What's the problem with you? You just be happy. Just stop discussing to me. I was not in a happy mood at the end. I'm like, what's going on here? But then I apologized with them that, I just stopped them that please don't talk to me about this. I am not in happy. I don't want to talk to you about that. Such a tough situation because you're not around, devotional people all the time. It's very tough. So I felt it's very challenging for me because my Prabhuji, he's not into this as well. So it's very hard for me. So just sharing with everybody today, it's a very personal thing, but it's a very tough situation.
Yeah, there are two hands up, but I'll just interject here. I think you are being a very good devotee in doing this. See, when all things are easy and conducive and you do it, no big deal, right? I mean, I have a lot of support at home. I do my thing. I should be doing way more, but you're doing with not that much support. Pat yourself on the back. Don't beat yourself about this. You are where you are. There used to be another Mataji who used to come to the temple. Her family was Shiva devotees. Actually, they had we went to their house once. She had a huge Shivalinga in their the temple room. I mean, it was just a beautiful temple room, but that was her situation. In her heart, she had Krishna. And she did her best, and that is all we can do is do our thing. Krishna knows what's in our heart. We can lie to anybody and get away with it. Krishna is there sitting inside. He knows what's going on, and he will. And I do truly feel he's looking at your devotion and your effort. And I'm always remembering Damodar Ashtaka. Yashoda is trying to tie him, and she keeps trying. She never gives up. But at the end, it is Krishna's mercy. He says, okay, fine, now you tie me. So you need both. You just keep endeavoring, and that is what you have on your side. So enough of mine, but Kalpesh Prabhu and then Drona Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Very nice class and a very important question.
Thank
For
you.
all to become a Vaishnava is to make a Vaishnava. That is what I have learned from this class, from previous devotees hearing through that. So how do one judge himself that he is progressing in the devotion? Is to become first of all a Vaishnava. At the same time, he makes another Vaishnava. That is how I have put into my intellect and mind that this is my parameters for doing any work in Krishna consciousness, to judge my own self for my own progress. And in that context, after I have a little bit whatever I have understood the shastras from hearing from senior devotees, by asking all the questions and getting the very logical responses to all those questions. So what has changed in my behavior is like I simply don't care what people think about me, and particularly towards my family members who kind of don't have a education related to shastras, at least compared to me. They may do something, but they don't necessarily would fully devote their time into this, and my behavior has changed since then after doing this, and my behavior has become strongly about Krishna preaching towards my family also. So absolutely, in that context, because of that, I have ended up into a lot of arguments, conflicts also. It has happened to me, but I want them, this is my way of looking things, and if you don't like me, you don't have to keep relationship with me. I'm very straightforward with even my parents, even my brothers, sisters, or anybody. And slowly what I have understood is they are changing themselves, because of my strong approach. I'd not necessarily say I don't want to keep a relationship with them, but they cannot stop doing what I am doing. They cannot stop me, for this in this particular matter. So I have it, but at the same time, in the Hinduism also, there are several sects and there are several divisions which I have learned from like learning from the different people. So I do completely respect if, let's say, they are worshipping some other sampradayas, right? So as long as they are God conscious, as long as they are working on the principle of Bhagavad Gita, I have no issues. I can also accept that for their devotional life, if they are going forward with that and they are behaving in the society to to do the right thing. So this is my so far journey with my family members, my friends and relatives. Some of my friends do not contact me because of this. They have stopped contacting me, or they have made, but they in their heart, because I contact them sometime to just check in on them. But not necessarily they feel that no, you are doing the right thing, even though they don't fully support me in that what I'm doing. So this is the power of Krishna. What I'm saying is, and I heard about that we should not give to envious people. I understand, but I think so it has to also look into the context. When we are fully into Krishna conscious mode, we should just be like a Vaishnava, behaving like a Vaishnava, not disrespecting others at the same time, but wanted to make sure that they don't respect Krishna. That should be always a parameter for me. My only weakness is so far I learned is, and I learned this through book distribution. I'm very strong with my family members when it comes to Krishna consciousness, and also with my friends, relatives, and whoever I meet from the background of Indian. Okay, I'm very strong to them. Like, okay, Krishna, how Bhagavad Gita plays an importance in our role life. So I'm strong. But when it comes to audience from Western side, I don't have that power. I try to. I mean, I am not able to tell them very easily, like how I can tell to others. So because I don't know how they see this, and I have no knowledge. And I think so you being preaching this right now in this class, I would be also interested. What made you convince, to come to Krishna consciousness? I don't know, really. I don't know what's your background, how, like from the childhood. So if you could just help me out with that, because I would like to, because I wanted to go in that different diverse communities also, not necessarily stick to just particular one part of world, India only. So if you can guide me, that is my weakness. Thank you very much.
I'll tell you in 2 words, and then we can connect. I can share my number and we can talk more later on. Prasadam, Kirtan. That's how, Prabhu.
Okay.
But yeah, I will send you my number here in the chat. Oh, I'm not able to. I'll ask Mother Shobha Radhe so we can get in touch with him.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I was away from the computer. What was the question?
No problem. I'll send you a text. I just need Kalpesh Prabhu's contact.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I will send it to you and
Okay.
I'll email it to you.
Great.
Drona Prabhu, did he get a chance?
Not yet.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Brhat Mridanga Prabhu, and all the devotees for sharing. But thank you for stimulating this conversation.
Thank you, Prabhu.
The question was, the barriers that block us.
Yeah.
I can only speak for myself, but But I think many of us have this experience when we've been approached with something that we have really no interest in at all, right? Sometimes it's over the phone, we get a telemarketer, they're trying to sell carpet cleaning or something like that. And you're just a hang up, not interested, has nothing to do with me or what I'm trying to do. We get junk mail all the time. We don't even look at it. We just look at it, glance, and move on. I'm not interested. And then we've also been approached on the street, somebody, Planned Parenthood, can you come over here and sign this form? We're gonna, go to Congress and we need, somebody saying, sorry, I just don't have time.
Yeah.
I just not interested. And, tuned into something different. My mind's going somewhere else. And so sometimes I think the fear of just, okay, I'm going out and I'm approaching somebody, trying to enter into their personal space. And I have an experience with people trying to come into my personal space and try to give me something that's very valuable to them, but I have no interest in that. And now I'm doing the same thing of trying to go into other people's personal space and saying, excuse me, do you have a few minutes of your time? Knowing that time is very valuable to people, knowing that they're really, for the most part, not really thinking about that. I mean, every once in a while, you do find the person says, oh my gosh, yes. You know what? I heard about the Gita. My friend was talking about it just the other day. Wow, this is like an amazing coincidence that, you approached me about this Bhagavad Gita. Me and my friend, we were just, wow, how did this happen? This must be some type of divine arrangement. So we get sometimes these, magical, I feel like magical moments where just like, wow, Krishna, you really arranged this for us. But they oftentimes are like the rare situations. Most of the time it's just like, sorry, what's this about? Okay, yeah, sorry, thank you. And so I think that oftentimes it comes into people's minds, as barriers. I know for myself, that's been a barrier for a long time, of just going into somebody's personal space, knowing that you're trying to give something to somebody. Now, sometimes people are just good, and even devotees, they're just good salesmen, right? They're just good at it. I mean, there's one devotee. He was down to stadiums. He was distributing books at a concert, and there's actually a owner of a hot tub company, and he sold a book to an owner of a hot tub company. He says, "Listen, if you could sell me this, you could sell anything. I own a hot tub company. Here's my number. If you want a job, I mean, you can sell hot tubs like nothing," because he was just a good salesman, And he stops you. You stop. You freeze. You listen, and they know the lines, whatever it is to do. So for some people, that's very natural. And he took the job, and he actually, did well. It's fun. It's funny how these things happen. But for those of us who aren't natural salesmen, very outgoing, that can oftentimes be a challenge. I know for myself, I had to transition my mentality, really just for survival when I go on the street to distribute books. And I had to flip my consciousness. And I don't even know if this is very helpful for me. And when I would go out, I would always be challenged with the inability to distribute a lot of books. And I would be in awe of people that were able to say, like, yeah, we distributed 20 Bhagavad Gitas today, and 7 Science of Self-Realizations, and they were just like flying out of my bag. And I was like, okay, I had like one person that even just gave me, some recognition, And so what I did was I started counting, not the books, but I started counting the rejections I got. And I started setting a goal that today, my goal is to get rejected 20 times. And the reason I did that was for my own purification. So I kind of I said, I'm going to leave this completely into Krishna's hands.
Yeah.
And each rejection was just like a body blow, like somebody just like punching me in the gut. And when I did that, I realized, wow, my false ego is so strong right now. Like my false ego is just, I'm so concerned with this stranger and how this stranger
Mm.
thinks of me and perceives of me. Am I really acting as a humble servant of the Lord? Am I really acting on Krishna's behalf, on Srila Prabhupada's behalf, as an ambassador of this spiritual knowledge? Or am I really out here trying to gain some type of appreciation from a complete stranger? And when I was able to get past the point of actually, all I am is a servant of Krishna, and I'm out here on Krishna's behalf. And whether the stranger likes me or doesn't like me is completely irrelevant. I'm really out here just trying my best, even though as imperfect as I am, just to simply try to give. And so that kind of helped me, but it's still such a hard thing. And I know for many devotees it is. It's just trying to go into somebody's personal space. But the benefit of even just connecting with one person, I mean, it's so much worth it. When you give a book to a person or make a connection with a person, and then if you see that person, show up at the temple or reconnect with you, and you just feel like, wow, I actually had, I made a difference. I made a difference in somebody's life, and coming to Krishna. So it's definitely worth the risk. I know it's hard. I struggle with it. That's kind of my struggles to share. But thank you. Thanks for letting us all share these things.
So nice to hear. I really appreciate that, Jonathan. Thank you. Yeah, it's so relevant. I'm sure we all can remember an experience like that. So last quick thought on my mind is this discussion has helped me see that when we consider sharing Krishna consciousness, we might immediately think book distribution, going out on the street. And yes, that's one way, and it's a way that Srila Prabhupada especially stressed. But it's so much more broad, like Mother Shobharada was saying. Cooking for the devotees who are going out, or supporting them, or buying the books, or whatever it is. Sankirtan is so much more broad than we might think. And then when we go out and actually do that direct frontline service, what is the goal of that service? Of course, we do want to distribute many books and bring in lots of Lakshmi for the temple, for Krishna's service. But the greater goal that I understand is to be an ambassador of goodwill. This is how Vaisheshika Prabhu puts it, that we want to just make people happy and help them get a favorable feeling towards Krishna and his devotees, even if that means all they get is a little lollipop and a sticker and a smile. Even if they reject us, at least they will think in the back of their mind, that person was so nice when I told them no. They just smiled and kept going. So I really appreciate those thoughts, Drona Prabhu, and all of you. Thank you for sharing. It's such a sweet space here, sharing our challenges in sharing Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
So if there are no more questions, we can end the class here. Thank you very much, Brhat Mridanga Prabhu. The way you started the class describing Krishna and our relationship and the perspective, that was just very, very nice. And at the end, about why we are doing what we are doing. So
thank you very much for having me here.
We'll see everybody at 5 o'clock today for happy hour. And then again tomorrow morning, Charuchandra Prabhu will be here. So look forward to that.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for a nice class and nice questions.
Thank you.
Nice thing to hear, Say a lot of different things. It's very nice.
You've got a good group here.
I love to do some book distribution. I go and I face all kinds of people, Sometimes if they reject, I feel, oh God, they're rejecting. But we should be having that. That's a nice thing. And yeah. And about telemarketing, he was saying that Drona Prabhu was saying I experienced that also. After going through half the survey, they say, no, we're not interested. I faced that also. So thank you very much for that.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Nice class.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Kripa sindhobhya eva
Hare
cha.
Krishna.
Sitaram Bhavane.
Yo,
Vaishnadevi.